What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here, and the link to my Discord is in the description below. I recommend you come kick it. But with that said, I am breaking down another member of the New York Jets 2025 undrafted free agent class, and this time we're diving into Notre Dame cornerback Jordan Clark. And he's intriguing because I feel like he could potentially moonlight at safety, although he's kind of a one position player, and unfortunately it's at a position being nickel or slot where MC2 is going to be that guy, right? And there's going to be rotating and all that kind of stuff, but he's just coming off of a pretty sizable extension to reset the slot cornerback market. And I don't know, right? How much playing time is he necessarily going to get? But there's been a bit of a theme here with guys like Jordan Clark here, that there's a lot of 5-6 year veterans in his UDFA class, guys that have excelled at one point in time. And if you really think about it, it matches the theme of free agency, where it might not be these elite top tier names that we somehow found as an undrafted free agent, but these are guys that have stood out in one capacity or another, and now you're looking to build upon that and increase the level of consistency and, of course, the competition, skill set range, all that good stuff. So with Jordan Clark, you are getting another 6th year man. He spent his first 5 years at Arizona State before transferring to Notre Dame, and I found it particularly interesting that his father, him being the son of Ryan Clark, former Steeler and current ESPN analyst, so obviously you have the NFL bloodlines there, but it sounded like he had to be convinced to leave Arizona State to pursue playing for Notre Dame, who of course went to the championship game, and many people thought was kind of largely outmatched, right? But this was, I believe, college football's highest ranking defense in terms of pass efficiency. So he was a big part and a big reason for that, locking down the slot or nickel position. Coming in at 5'10" and 182 pounds. This is basically kind of like your MC2, right? If he had a little bit more statistical dominance, I would probably say, because the name prestige is going to be there, but if he had a little bit, I guess, more solid of a career, and I think he actually put up some really good numbers across the board, I think you'll be talking about him in the same way that you're talking about an MC2, even though the skill sets I don't think are an apples to apples comparison in terms of what they both do really well. Jordan Clark does come in with a really well-rounded skill set, so knowing that you're potentially just throwing him in at one position, I think in this case is a huge boost, and I think asking him to do too much will actually hinder him just because there's a lot of physical limitations. But he's going to essentially be used as a nickel corner. He did moonlight at free safety a little bit. I don't think he necessarily showed off the range or anything for that to be a serious consideration, especially at the NFL level where guys are only going to be getting faster. But you are getting about a 31 game starter, and he's been playing in large venue, or I guess high value games for quite some time, right? Starting off with the Under Armour All-American game, for example, before playing in some big moments for Arizona, and then of course making it all the way to the championship with Notre Dame. We also used a pre-draft top 30 visit on him as well, and so in my mind, when I start looking at a lot of these day 3 selections and stuff that we had, the argument around it was that maybe we didn't have as great of a plan, or they were behind the 8 ball, or it just seemed a lot less valuable in comparison to the day 1 and 2 moves. But I started thinking that maybe there was a little bit more of a detailed or strategic movement for some of these guys that they acquired based on some of these UDFAs that we brought in, and seeing who we actually used top 30 visits and stuff on, and who they were continuing to keep track of, and obviously ended up making a priority signing here. He's coming off a 2024 season, racking up 37 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, 8 interception, and 6 pass deflections. Now, he stood out to me particularly in terms of his man coverage, and he has a pretty key stat to back that up, where he allowed a 40% completion percentage when the defense played in cover 0 or cover 1, which is effectively man coverage defense, which was good for 23rd. And I don't recall how many cornerbacks actually met the criteria of meeting 100, coverage snaps in that defense. But this would have been in 2022 when he was at Arizona. And so obviously level competition and concerns and such come into play. But when you look at what he does really, really well, it makes a ton of sense why he would be highly effective in man coverage. While he doesn't have the elite or eye-popping athleticism numbers to really back up what's going on here, you take a look at him and you see that he knows how to position himself to make plays within his responsibility, which is a huge piece. I think when you break down the nuance of playing defense, especially in the secondary, you could have a guy that has all the traits or none of the traits and all the athleticism or none of it. But some guys, especially those that tend to be a little bit underwhelming in terms of physical ability, some guys just know IQ-wise, which Jordan Clark is also highly intelligent in terms of defensive schematics. Some guys just have the high IQ, and then they know where they're supposed to be, where the flow of the game is going, where the ball is going to be at, and they just need to make sure that they're going to be at the proper spot at the proper time. And I think you see a lot of that in Jordan Clark's game, where the arm length troubles that he has and the size, in terms of coverage, could definitely work against him, but more often than not, he's able to make sure that it's a difficult play if one is being made against him. Now, quick feet, I think, are the biggest calling card for him, and you can see how when he pairs the IQ up with knowing what's going to happen on defense and trusting that right out of the gate, he's able to come downhill with a bit of force, right? He definitely can increase his play speed as he gets comfortable within the defense or just understands what he's being asked to do. And I think the quick feet has a lot to do with that, not just in terms of run defense, but when you look at his ability to go out there and utilize not only the quick feet, but also the great footwork he has in terms of not taking false steps or biting on double moves, a ton of different things of that nature. He knows how to mirror receivers really, really well, and you see him staying in the hip pocket, whether he is facing somebody that's planning on trying to beat him on a vertical route, which he wouldn't be in an advantageous position for that. But anything laterally, like teams that want to get the ball out really quick and, try to hit hot routes to the flats, curl routes, all that different kind of stuff, he's going to trigger and he's going to fly to that ball extremely quick to either bring down a ball carrier, or he's going to make sure that he can get his hand on the ball and hopefully he comes away with an interception. But I think he also does a really good job in zone coverage, where I think you can also make an argument, even though I think he does particularly well in man coverage when it comes to attacking lateral routes. You can make the argument that in zone coverage, with his high IQ, with him trusting his eyes and being able to peek at the quarterback and see how different things are developing, he can do just as well in zone coverage. So I think you're talking about a decent enough floor in man and zone for this guy to have been drafted. I don't think is out of the if he was 2 inches taller and maybe 5 pounds heavier, I think you're talking about him as being like an early day 3 prospect, right? Or even if he's the size he is now, but he has the arm length to match up in different things and maybe a better 40 time. I think he ran like a 4.69 or something like that. You're talking about him moving up definitely a couple rounds easily here. So one of the last pieces I like too is especially watching people in their press technique. He's one of the few cornerbacks that you see actually operate with a two-hand jam. And I think when you just talk about cornerback play in general, if you can maneuver somebody with one hand and still have the opportunity to work on hip, flexion and being able to move at the drop of a dime, etc., you can get away with that. The two-hand jam is really a full commitment type technique. You're expecting to really stall and take them out of the play, or obviously just disrupt the timing. And so I'm intrigued to see if that continues at the next level for him as well. But as mentioned, when it comes to some of the concerns or the opportunities, he's going to struggle disengaging from blocks. So the run game is going to be a situation where you don't want to have him out there. And in fact, I think you've seen Notre Dame, for example, and at times with Arizona, them particularly use him when they knew it was going to be more of an obvious pass play, right? So not a ton of reps versus the run. You also look at the fact that I think he understands some of his disadvantages. So you can see where if somebody can't get his hands on him right away, he's looking to utilize his quick feet and that athleticism and short area quickness to avoid blocks completely, right? He's not looking to blow by somebody per se. He's looking to kind of move and get around you, but still find his way to the ball. And I think the size is going to present some issues as well. So you have him disengaging from blocks and being stalled or just wiped out of a play too often. But then you also have the fact that he's going to kind of be considered a shoestring tackler, especially because his tackling form isn't great. You don't see him really use his arms a ton to help shore up and bring a guy down. It's more so like he's using his shoulder and his torso and kind of diving at the legs and hoping that he can just uplift somebody and they hit the ground there. So never a good situation when your eyes aren't on the ball all the way through the tackle per se, but not a completely unfixable mistake. And then the long speed, the recovery ability is going to be a question mark again. Looking at that 40 time for him, he's going to have to essentially be perfect within his 5 to 7 within 5 to 7 yards of the line of scrimmage, where he's going to be able to play press if necessary, or when he can just utilize his eyes in zone coverage to really help just make sure that he's in the right position. And people mention the strength concerns, but I'll highlight this on a good note. So you definitely see it on film to a certain degree, and his inability to disengage from blocks is like a big factor in that. But he also put up 18 bench press reps at his pro day, which would have been the third most at the combine, and only one of 5 players would have even hit this benchmark period. So when I look at him, I think there's definitely more to it. Now, there's a lot that happens in the midst of a play, and you can't always put that on display, right? You're not bench pressing a human out there, but it's not like he's completely inadequate. I do think it's purely a size differential, and then of course him meeting somebody when they're already bursting off the line of scrimmage versus them having some build up speed and being able to go and attack him. So one of the comps that come to mind outside of someone like MC2 or really any of your diminutive slot guys is going to be someone like Josiah Scott. So we'll see what happens with Jordan Clark. I'm intrigued because obviously it seems like Aaron Glenn kind of has a thing for some of these bloodlines, and it's I don't know. We'll see how it pans out, right? These things can easily go wrong or make a bunch of unwanted noise that you don't want to happen, but it would be intriguing to see someone like Jordan Clark become an understudy to MC2, who amongst having DJ Reed and having Sauce Gardner, not only has been one of the most consistent guys, and I think that award goes to either DJ Reed or MC2, but he's also been at the top of his positional unit, specifically looking at slot and nickelback. So he's going to be one of the best guys to learn from, and we'll see how that rubs off on guys like Jordan Clark as we move forward in the offseason program. But let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.